So continuing with Ramjoo's diary, part one, page 91. The subtitle is Juhu. As per arrangements, Vajifdar has selected Juhu for today's picnic in the bungalow of Mr. Narottam Moraji, whose permission he has already secured. Finding Baba's condition not fit for the excursion, owing to a severe pain he has had since this morning, the Mandali did not like to go out on a pleasure trip. In spite of it, Baba insisted upon all to come out for the treat, and himself accompanied the party to Juhu, with a willingness that would surpass that of a student leaving college for vacations. Reaching the destination, we took rest in the bungalow, which is a lovely place, situated on the seashore, about 2 miles to the west of Villa Parla. After refreshing ourselves with the aerated water brought with us, we looked round to see if any game could be played, as it was blazing hot at the time with bright sunshine. We began to play a game under the shade of the coconut trees. The game lasted for about an hour when we were called in for the meals. Baba distributed the food with his own hands to each of us, which consisted of puffed wheat bread and sweet dessert. After finishing with the meals, we were asked to keep indoors during the heated hours of the afternoon. Subtitle, Caught Napping. At 2 p.m., Baba asked Doctor to see what we all were doing. We were found scattered all over the bungalow, lying, sitting, talking, and singing, with the exception of Vithal, who was snoring at the time. Baba called for Vithal and asked him to leave for Pune immediately. He again asked Doctor to report as to who were occupying chairs and sofas. Rustam and Patel were the only 2 members found to be taking advantage of the tempting furniture liberally spread in the bungalow. A subtitle, A Select Sermon. Hearing this, Baba at once sent for all in his presence and delivered himself as follows. In spite of my wretched condition, I have brought you all to this place to give you a sort of change. It is for you all that I am undergoing all this suffering. What matters it to me if I be at Dadar or here? Hence, it grieves me to find that you have no consideration or regard for me or my sufferings. Here I am, lying on the ground, undergoing excruciating pain in the stomach, and having had four stools since the morning, while you have ensconced yourselves comfortably on sofas and easy chairs. I know it full well that you come of high families and have been used to all kinds of luxuries and have utilized the best of furniture. Now, on my word, you have discarded the said luxuries for the time being. You should not let go the hold on your mind on such as the present occasions, and should at once remember the line you have adopted and the spiritual goal you have fixed as your ideal. you should just consider yourself in a jail for the period. That is all. You should not let your minds go to that which you have discarded for the present. The moment a chance is offered your way, you have, however, not to undergo the hardships entailed in this line when with me. You are simply required to go against your will and wish, and not to do certain things which you have been doing up to now, and to do certain things which you have no liking for. For example, on feeling hungry, you used to eat, and now you are asked to eat when you have no liking to take food, and not to touch it when you have a craving appetite for it. You used to sleep in daytime. Now you are not to do so. Similarly, you were never used to physical labor, while here at times you are asked to work in the blazing hot sun. These are instances of your going against your mind, and in this way, you will gradually learn to control it. Look at the Indian leaders of fame and repute, like Gandhi and the Ali brothers. From a sense of patriotism and for the sake of the nation, they have left everything of the luxuries of life and are undergoing the hardships of prison life for a long period. For the sake of their country and the good things of this world, which is a mere dream, these leaders are suffering so much. Just imagine how much more you should do for God, the very source of all that is. Your term of so-called imprisonment with me is only for 10 months, wherein you are required to go a little against your mind. It is the least you are to do to attain or reach the highest. Hafiz says, you should go out of the abode of your nature, temperament, and thoughts, without which you cannot reach the lane of truth. People have discarded the world and have undergone untold hardships for the sake of God. But here, you should admire your good fortune that you are to realize Him so very easily. Living with me as you are considered to have discarded the whole world in spite of living in it. Elizabeth, are you reading today?
Okay, I can read.
Thank you.
Starting with this whole universe.
Correct.
This whole universe, with all its vastness and grandeur, is nothing but mere imagination. In spite of so many discoveries, research, and scientific knowledge, creation remains a great riddle. With all the latest inventions of steam and electricity, humanity at large is quite helpless against nature and its so-called freaks. The greatest warriors, scientists, doctors, and astrologers have to bow low to one of nature's commonest laws, death, without exception. Everyone of the world is helpless, ignorant, and is for himself. The world, quote, the worldly ties of relationship are mere hypocrisy. Swami Vivekananda aptly compares this with truth when he says, quote, they know no truth who dream such vacant dreams as father, mother, child, wife, and friend. God is all for them, but then comes the prophet and the master. Barring these, no one in the world possesses what is called true love, Just see how very anxious Maharaj is for me, always sending word to me to go to Sikori so he can take over some share of the terrible spiritual sufferings I am undergoing. Close quote. Then the subject turned toward religions, and Baba continued, quote, the spirit of Zoroastrianism has been spoiled by its followers. He was the highest form of Sufism. His was the highest form of Sufism. If Zoroaster were to come again in this material world, he would find it very difficult to recognize his own religious tenets as practiced by the present day followers of his creed. The same is true of all religions. The priests have mutilated the original to gain their own motives. Instances were cited here of how this priest class in every religion has made religion its stock and trade, and of which it makes a very profitable use in various ceremonies and rituals. The lecture continued for about an hour, delivered by Baba in his own free and simple style, with so many suitable quotations and examples that they are hard to remember. The fourth illness. About 3:30 in the afternoon, we again were asked to play Iti Danda. Baba also took some part in the game at the onset, but retired very soon in the bungalow, asking us to continue the game. After an hour, we were all called to witness Baba vomiting copiously. The ejected matter contained the food eaten at about 11:30, almost in its original state before it was eaten, without undergoing any chemical change, in spite of remaining in Baba for 5 hours. Doctor said it was very strange and surprising from the medical point of view. Baba told us that he was feeling very weak and would not be able to walk back to the station. Thereupon, Vajivdar was sent to Andheri to get a taxi. Baba then took a soda, but even this was shortly brought up. Here he reminded the Mandali that this was the fourth illness mentioned before in connection with the circle. Baba left in the taxi with Gustaji, Rustam, and Jal at about 5:50, while the rest of us followed him by train, reaching Dardar at 7:15 p.m. We found Baba lying in the dining hall, having passed 4 more motions since his arrival, and consequently in a very exhausted and pulled down condition. A comedy of errors. It seems while we were away at Juhu, Abdullah F. Jaffer had been to the bungalow to see Baba. He had come from Pune expressly for the 3rd time, as somehow he was turned away from the bungalow twice before. Hardly half an hour had passed since we had come back from the seashore of Juhu.
Praveen, Sureka Dadar and group, Hiralal Kedal.
Hang on, I'll do some muting.
Yeah, thank you. I'm not reading till it's gone.
Yeah, I think that did it.
Okay, hardly half an hour had passed since we had come back from the seashore of Juhu. Then Abdullah came in again about 8 p.m. I went to announce his arrival to Baba. Finding him in a very bad condition, I told him that Abdullah had come, but in a very hesitative and low tone. Baba, taking it that Abdullah had come, asked me to tell him to go away and inform Munshi and Syed Sahab that his condition was critical and hopeless. Accordingly, I carried out the awkward duty of turning away the invited guest for the 3rd time from the bungalow with greater hesitation. Thereafter, I became rather gloomy and irritated. To my great chagrin, I soon found out that I had myself to thank for the awkward situation, although the fact that now I had Syed Saheb to share the chagrin with me gave me some relief. It happened thus. Hardly half an hour had elapsed since Abdullah's retreat that Syed Saheb came rushing from Charney Road, fluttering and fuming like a fire engine. as a result of the message, which it seems Abdullah delivered there rather exaggeratedly in his own excitement, to the effect that Baba was in a hopeless condition and dying. Finding that he had become a victim of a misunderstanding, Syed Sahab became very cross, especially with me. The poor fellow had every reason to do so, as he came post haste from home on hearing the message, leaving his wife and child, who were ill, in bed to the care of God. Of course, I denied all responsibility, as I had never sent Abdullah purposely. On the contrary, it was an unpleasant task for me. Hence, Syed Sahab kept on grumbling, as is his wont, for a long time, saying Munshi was too cute to be taken in by the message, as after hearing the same, he said, if Baba's case is hopeless, it matters not. I have full hopes in him.
Let me interject something, Elizabeth. I looked up the old meaning of cute because we thought, why are they using the word cute in a text 100 years old? And it turns out that cute is the abbreviation for acute, A-C-U-T-E, acute,
Really?
acute
You wanna-
vision. Yeah.
So
So go ahead, my dear.
okay. Hence, Syed Sahab kept on grumbling, as is his wont for a long time, saying Munshi was too acute to be taken in by the message. As after hearing the same, he said, that still doesn't make sense, Honey Bunny. Is there another definition for
Yeah,
cute?
Munshi was too acute mentally to be taken in by that message.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. If Baba's case is hopeless, it matters not. I have full hopes in him. When Baba came to know all this confusion, he was not a little amused and asked to write a letter to Abdullah explaining the jumble and asking him to come back once again immediately. Before 9 p.m., Baba passed 4 more stools. What a discourse. Oh my God.
I love the detail myself.
a lot of vomiting and pooping. Anyway, rapid recovery, October 9th, 1922. When we woke up at 4 a.m. as usual, Baba was not seen downstairs as he usually was. However, when we finished with the prayers and trooped in the dining room, in response to the breakfast bell, we found him sitting there. Save for signs of weakness, there was no trace of the terrible ordeal through which he had passed last night. On the contrary, he looked quite all right and cheerful. This is all the more wonderful that even in the night, he passed some 6 or 7 motions, besides about 12 yesterday. Perhaps a 4th death has been passed through. A large stock of wheat bread was still coming from the lot we had taken to Juhu, and these made our breakfast today in place of the usual fresh and crisp bread, under the excuse that wheat bread requires good exercise for thorough digestion. All were asked to sweep out the back compound, and afterwards were made to run a race of running around in a circle in small batches, in which Rustam was declared to have won.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Ernie, could you unmute, please, and continue?
Hey, Honey Buddy, I missed something. What were these 4 deaths? I must have missed somehow the beginning when he explained that.
Yeah, it's the deaths of 4 Mandali, or I believe, but let's discuss it afterwards.
Okay, I thought I missed something.
Thanks.
All right.
In spite of his very bad condition and having had scores of motions yesterday, Baba looks quite his usual self again, save for some weakness. And the strange feature about these illnesses and recoveries is that without any medical treatment, Baba has had no motion at all throughout the day. In the afternoon, some discussion was going on between Baba and some of us when the topic drifted on the question of ages. Baba said that doctors, Adis, and my ages were 20, 16, and 10, respectively. When asked for explanation as to what was meant thereby, the subject was abruptly changed. Continued life in the Mansell. October 10th, 1922. The spell of sleep. Since the morning prayers are started, we have to get up at 4 o'clock daily. So far, the enthusiasm and expectations of witnessing extraordinary sights and sounds while engaged in the repetitions made us shake off the alluring sleep of the early hours easily. But in view of so many days having passed away without a single member of the party having reported experiencing any supernatural phenomenon, all are assigned to the situation that the prayers are prayers in the ordinary sense of the word. It means that Baba's hints about the company experiencing supernatural phenomena in or after September did not mean that which we understood from it. Hence, day by day, the question of getting up so early in the day has become one of the most inconveniencing practices these days. Ramjoo, who had the duty of awakening all, first used to cry out the names of one or two persons while standing by a group of the rooms in one part of the bungalow. And all the persons in those rooms would come up or raise a voice in reply. Now no one answers the rousing call unless particularly addressed oneself. Besides, the awakener himself, that is Ramjoo, coming to each room with half-opened eyes, repeating the names of the respective occupants in the tone of an exhausted gramophone, taking a lightning nap with the support of a half-opened doorway while he gets a reply, provides a funny scene. Besides, somebody running into a door or window or a collision between two persons is an occasional feature of the sleeping atmosphere. The funniest incident in this connection was Baramji's missing some steps today while descending downstairs, and consequently making a shortcut of the journey with a crash. The baths. The scene at the bathroom is amusing. Strange noises and sounds occasionally emanate from this direction, proclaiming the fact that the particular member inside has had turned down upon himself the first dreaded tumbler of cold, cold water, and is beginning to have an upper hand with Dame Sleep. In this connection, Doctor's peculiar shash shoo shoosh is very prominent. Whenever this curious hissing comes out of the bathroom, it is safe to bet that it contains Doctor. There being only 2 bathrooms and about 30 persons having to take bath within the fixed time of 4 to 4:45. A string of candidates is always found along the hall, containing the bathroom waiting for one's turn in an orderly line. But even the short period of waiting for a few minutes is utilized by most in taking a nap, only to be pulled up with the jolt of a neighbor. A wave of cleanliness. Leaving aside the question of supernatural change in the atmosphere expected by some, there is, however, a marked physical change in the atmosphere of the Mansell of a recent date. Perhaps it may be due to an imperceptible change from the spiritual point of view also having taken place. The new change chiefly consists in a wave of cleanliness, having passed over all the multifarious departments of domestic life in the bungalow. Even Baba himself is marked to be observing strict cleanliness in all matters about his person. While taking a bath, Baba is observed to use soap very frequently and freely, and insists upon having his clothes, towels, and sheet scrupulously clean and clear to a fault. He has separated his own kitchen department from the common one too. Nowadays, Gustaji cooks the meals for Baba, observing great care about cleanliness. This is very contrasting to Baba's earlier activities in the beginning of our stay in the Manzil. In those days, almost twice a week, Baba and Gustaji used to clean with their own hands the dirty gutters running from the closets and privies to the drains outside the compound. While doing this highly stinking work, none of the Mandalay was allowed to take any share at first, excepting Gustaji. But after some time, some of us were also asked to lend a hand in this gutter sweeping work. The change is very far reaching so far as it concerns the Mandalay at large. All are strictly enjoined not to sit on bare ground, but to spread something before doing so, in spite of the present dry climate. During the monsoon, when it was wet and damp everywhere, we used to sit and lie down anywhere we liked on bare ground. Water is not to be taken from the earthen water cooler directly with the glasses belonging to the individuals as heretofore, but a goblet tied to a string is now attached about the cooler, and the water has been ordered to be taken out only through these goblets, and then drink the same only after transferring it into our own respective tumblers. Rules have been framed as to when and how far the footgear is to be used in the bungalow premises, while special wooden slippers are provided near the latrines to be used while going to the WC. In short, a complete change has overcome the Manzil to ensure cleanliness in almost every walk of life, eating, drinking, sitting, etc. The mosquito killing. On top of it all, everyone is ordered to destroy about 50 mosquitoes daily so as to clean the Manzil of these fever pests. This latter order gives rise to many funny scenes. At every odd hour, in the nooks and corners, one mosquito hunter or another can be marked fumbling, jumping, clapping, and in fact making use of all available tactics to fill up the bag of the day with the required number of the pest as quickly as possible. And this duty usually ends with the stained hands of a butcher just returning home after the day's work. Baba is found cheerful throughout the day without any trace of his recent illness. He also told us that he feels very fresh owing to his having slept for an hour and a half overnight, which he attributed to the cow's butter sent by Maharaj for him from Sakori with Patel that had been massaged on his head. Okay, let me read that again. He also told us that he feels very fresh owing to his having slept for an hour and a half overnight, which he attributed to the cow's butter sent by Maharaj for him from Sakari with Patel that had been massaged on his head. In the afternoon, Baba asked Doctor to remind him to explain to us about the exciting game he had once said would begin in September at supper time.
Thank you, Ernie. Is Rolf, are you available to read, or Jackson, or Jay?
Hi, Jay Baba. Outwitted. Just at the moment Doctor was about to carry out the order of reminding Baba about his promised explanation at supper, He was suddenly asked not to speak or utter any sound until he finished the food, which was already served just then. After the meal, Baba said, "Doctor has failed to carry out the order of reminding about the explanation at 7 o'clock as instructed, and hence it is posted." Anyone know how to pronounce that? Those two words, Sindai, posted. As I see it, anyone know that?
Guess not.
Sign-
Rolf, continue.
Elizabeth's well-learned girl.
A sine die, I think it means without. I'm not sure what DIE, SINE usually means without. If it's from Latin. I'd have to look it up.
Well,
I'll
he
look
didn't
it up.
do it, and
I'll look it
Baba's
up.
accusing him, of not following through. Though Baba made him observe silence. Doctor put in that he did not forget the order. On the contrary, I was eager enough to remind Baba at the right moment, but I was gagged for the time being under a fresh order. Baba said, "The latest order simply made you observe silence. You could still have reminded me with or through signs." All had to agree that Doctor could have observed and obeyed both the orders at the time. Even Doctor had to plead guilty to unintentional disobedience in the end. Doopa doopy. As soon as the plates were removed, Baba asked all to be ready for a game of Doopa doopy, which which was indulged in heartily for about 20 minutes in the dining room. The game is played while all are sitting in a room along the walls with an open space in the middle. A tennis ball is thrown at each other with full strength and different tactics so as to hit as hard as possible on any unguarded point, particularly on the head or face of the opponent. To one who manages to get hold of the ball can hit anybody sitting there about him, as all the rest become opponents. Full liberty is given to all to hit as hard as possible anyone in the party, including Baba himself. Of course, all are strictly enjoined never to hit with malice or anger, but merely for the fun of the fun. Doctor and Baba can be said to be the champion hitters. The former for sending the ball in an unexpectedly reverse direction through his peculiar twist, and the latter for the terrific direct hit, while Ramjoo fares the worst in this game. In punishment, he gets the lion's share, but the ball seldom gets in his hand, and then too, not having the knack or trick. It is a mere throw, only to be returned on his head or face with a great bump. Although at times the game causes some black eyes, yet on the whole, it acts as a great mental refreshment, as it requires a great concentration throughout the game. For the short duration of some 15 or 20 minutes, everyone is compelled to leave aside all other thoughts and concentrate on the one point, the ball, to derive the full pleasure of the game as well as to save a black eye or bump on the head or face. Doopa doopy. I'd like to turn over my reading set time to whoever would like to care to take.
Thank you. Thank you, Ralph. That was awesome. Mahu, you just got here in time. Would you care to read? Unmute and
Honey bunny, do you want to know what the word means? I looked it up. Sine die.
it's without, go ahead, Elizabeth.
It's without a day. It's meaning it's in a legal sense. It's used in an adjournment of an assembly, like a legislature, and they decide to end without setting a date for reconvening. And it's also used for court that the matter is stayed until further notice. So in other words, it's kind of on hold. And it does come from Latin, sine, without, and dia is, or da, I think is how you say it, is day.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
Uh-huh.
Go ahead, Mahu, unmute.
Yeah, sure. So this is Ramjoo's diary, page 100. Date is October 11, 1922. And the title is Alarm Causes Alarm. The alarm having failed, we all got up 10 minutes late, like at 4:10 a.m. And consequently, we did not finish with our baths, etc., to be present in the dining hall by 4:45 as usual. At this few minutes difference, Baba got into a temper and asked all not to sit for the prayers. The morning program is hereby cancelled, he added. But the simple words spelled thunder for the Mandali. And for the ensuing half an hour, dead silence ruled supreme in the manzil. Everyone kept himself out of the way, lest he be caught in the expected hurricane. When in such moods, Baba seems to possess the strength and energy of a steamroller and electricity combined. The manifestation exceeds his apparently frail physique. However, by 5:30, Baba got cooled down without any untoward happening, and all were asked to retire to their respective rooms and sit down as usual for repeating God's name. So the next is one more coincidence. In the afternoon, Baba suddenly ordered Doctor and Adi to keep aside the sitars after putting them in their respective cases and covers. The order looked very strange on the face of it, as the sitars were never put in the cases these last 4 months. Even when unused for days together, they were allowed to lie about uncovered in a corner of the storeroom. But some meaning in the order suggested itself, and Adi found a dead rat lying in one of the cases in a horrible stinking condition. The matter being reported to Baba, the case was ordered to be cleaned and washed with phenol by me. While doing the same, Baba came and took equal share with me in washing the stinking case with his own hands. Baba then again explained to us with great emphasis that unless strict cleanliness is observed in all matters, a serious disease will originate in the premises. Doctor was ordered to write the following on board. So, the title is Most Urgent. A dead rat was found in the box when the sitar was ordered to be put in it. This shows a serious disease is likely to be invade the premises unless the rooms are kept scrupulously clean as already ordered. Okay, so 11/10/22, Merwan. The date is 11/10/22, I believe, huh? What is it?
Yep.
What is this? Yeah.
Yep. That's what it
But
refers to.
Yeah, but shortly afterwards, the above notice was wiped out by Baba before all could read it, probably to avoid a general stare and fright, and the following was substituted. Tincture iodine should be applied on ringworms, pimples, and any other skin trouble. Tincture iodine, remember, by Merva, signed by Merva. At about 6:30 in the evening, myself, Doctor, and Adi were sitting talking things at random on the front steps of the bungalow. The topic gradually turned on the present situation and how by and by Baba was making things more difficult. Of late, the afternoon tea has been stopped, the sleeping hours curtailed, the forcible stuffing of the stomach with food in spite of no inclination to eat. To eat absence of fresh bread at breakfast, as well as the increase of so many more minor orders, especially that of killing a fixed number of mosquitoes daily and so on. In this way, we were giving vent to our feelings of resentment. Doctor said, I, for one, do feel his grip tightening or growing stronger day by day. Okay. So the next topic is the divine wireless. Hardly had he finished the sentence when suddenly Adi was sent for by Baba upstairs. Shortly after, we both were also called for, and Baba began reprimanding Doctor for not doing any work himself, and on the contrary, trying to lead others to become idle too. Baba kept on a volley of such remarks towards Doctor for some time and ordered the three of us not to talk with each other for 10 months. The three is Ramjoo, Doctor, and Adi. After a while, he asked us if he had felt anything. Adi and myself replied in the affirmative, while Doctor said he did not feel anything. On the contrary, he was thinking about the mistake he was likely to commit owing to faulty memory in following this fresh binding of an order. Thereupon, Baba cancelled the order so far as it concerned Adi and myself, but ordered the doctor not to talk with anyone in the bungalow for 10 months. I was ordered to write the following on the board, page 102. Everyone in the bungalow is strictly prohibited from talking or holding any sort of communication by signs or through writing or any other way with Dr. Merwan, signed by Merwan. The next is sent to Coventry, sent to Coventry. At supper time, Baba again enjoined upon all not to have any sort of connection with Doctor, and all should act in such a way as to forget his very presence in the bungalow. Baba himself, having stopped talking with Doctor, asked him through Gustaji if he had felt anything. Doctor replied in the negative. Thereupon, Baba got further excited and began swearing at Doctor, saying if he is anything, he would surely make Doctor feel. And then added the following words to the notice, which is already on board. If Doctor has any sense of shame, he will leave the bungalow at once. During this excitement, Baba asked us if we all had received the MO receipts. I don't know what is that MO stands for. Hearing this, Doctor went to his room and brought the receipts that remained to be distributed as usual and gave one each to Ahmed Khan and Kundiram. Baba, seeing this, got wild with the latter too, and ordered the pair to leave the premises as soon as possible and take Doctor along with them. At this sudden outburst, both of them got funky, and poor old Ahmed Khan was all perspiration from head to foot. Although a short while after Baba excused Ahmed Khan and Kundiram on the plea of their not having properly grasped the latest order, Doctor seemed firm in his attitude and showed no sign of relenting in spite of so much excitement. Baba suddenly changed his tactics and became very calm, and in a quiet but serious tone told Doctor, quote, I order you to go to Pune and stay there. I am not sending you away for good, but you can let your things remain in your room and come and stay with me one day every month. Your connection with me will remain intact, and I shall surely do for you what I have to do.
Thank you, Mahu. I'll take another turn. Doctor replied, I am bound to follow your orders, but I don't like the prospect of remaining 1 month in Pune. And out of that, only 1 day in Bombay with you? I do not know how I shall be able to pass my time there. Then this shows that you have felt the last order, asked Baba, to which at last Doctor gave in and said yes. upon which he was asked to write the following on the notice board. Doctor is excused throughout for his admitting to have felt. 11/10/22, signed Merwan. After this, once again, the atmosphere became normal and all breathed a sigh of relief. A game of dupa-doopy was indulged in for some time, after which Baba suddenly asked Doctor to put up the following notice. I beg of all persons here not to convey in their actions and words bad intentions amongst themselves. 11/10/22, signed Merwan. October 12th, 1922. The subtitle is External versus Internal. Before we sat for the usual prayers, Baba delivered the following lecture at 4:30 in the morning. There are two states, internal and external, divided or separated by a mental curtain. Now, to cleanse the internal is a matter which is not in the hands of any mortal being. Without the help of a perfect master, it is an impossibility. Therefore, until a perfect master can be come across, one should try his best to keep the external, that is, body, clean. This is what the orthodox tenets of all religions teach. By following orthodox tenets to perfection, one has a chance of coming into the connection of a perfect master. The observance of external cleanliness, as taught by different religions, does brighten up to some extent the internal also. Ernie, could you unmute and take another turn?
Thus, to understand or realize God, one of the two ways should be adopted. No middle course would do, since cleaning the internal is in the hands of perfect master only. And in his absence, the second best method is to look after the external, as laid down in one's own religion. In all the religious tenets, you can see that it is all external only. Reading, sitting, standing, keeping the body clean with baths and ablutions, and in the same way of observing cleanliness about one's clothes, food, etc. With the eyes, you look at good and religious objects. With the tongue and lips, you utter prayers. And with the ear, you hear divine recitation, and so on. Thus, the rules of religions are all external only, and hence, all of the prophets from the beginning of time have enjoined upon their followers to observe the tenets.
Thanks, Ernie. Elizabeth, take another turn, please.
Okay. The middle course is adopted by yogis and those given to studies is a complete failure because they depend upon or take the help of both internal and external for the realization of their goal. By bringing the mind into work in the process of concentration and imagination, and that of bringing the upper and lower breaths into contact in the brain, they depend on the internal. But in sitting, reading, and fasting, they make use of the external, that is the body. And for this reason, they generally fail. Therefore, until your fortune takes you into the orbit of a perfect master's influence, it is best to follow the tenets of religion as much as you can. When once the internal is cleansed by the favor of a perfect master, that is, a person who has realized God, the external is no longer cared for and is completely neglected. It is for this reason that saints are generally seen in the most dirty state externally. What do such people care after what they have achieved for the external, which is but to perish in the course of time?
Thanks, Elizabeth. Mahu, could you unmute and take another turn?
Yes. Frailty of materialism. That's the title. While Doctor was making preparations for Baba's bath at 2 p.m., Baba sent for some chocolates from the bazaar. Distributing a few to each of us, he asked if we liked the taste of it. With the exception of Arjun, all replied in the affirmative. After some 5 minutes, Baba asked us if the taste of the chocolate that we enjoyed just a few minutes ago was still there. On getting a unanimous reply in the negative, he said, quote, "When a good thing is given to it, the mind is pleased, but soon after settles down to its original state. If some bitter medicine or a purgative like Epsom salts and castor oil is forced upon it, the same mind revolts." The same revolts. Okay, got it. But again, after a short while, reverts to its normal state. This proves that both the pleasures and pains of this world are so very ephemeral and short-lived. Just now you ate the chocolates with a sense of enjoyment, but immediately after, the same enjoyment and taste has become a thing of the past, since no result thereof has remained. This is in italic. Such is the case with all the earthly pleasures and pains. The highest kind of enjoyment or pleasurable sensation in this world is sexual intercourse. But how long does it last? Only a few minutes. Now, page 105. Now this, the highest of all the material pleasures, can well be compared with the real happiness, as if the former were a shadow of a drop from the infinite ocean of eternal happiness, which when once realized, is felt and enjoyed every second forever. From this comparison, you can imagine the hollowness of the world and its pleasures. Again in the evening, Baba gave interesting explanations of a ghazal from Hafiz, which he sang for the first time. Now, Baba didn't have silence. Today being Thursday, the Arti of Maharaj was recited in the evening, when for the first time the Mandali were allowed to pay respects to Baba.
Thanks, Mahu. Rolf, you want to take another turn? I guess he's busy. This is a good place to stop. We'll start again here next week.
I thought that was really fascinating, all that about cleanliness. I mean, first the vomiting and then the movements and